Good afternoon and welcome to the September 7th meeting of the Watershed Committee. We have most of the members here in the audience, as well as a few members on Zoom with us this evening. So calling the meeting to order. Second item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from March 2nd. So we're actually going back quite a ways. We canceled our April meeting. We don't typically have a May meeting. And then we canceled our June tour with COVID and everything else. At that point in time, we weren't allowed to be all on a bus together to ride around and eat donuts and drink coffee. So if anyone has any questions, comments on the minutes from our March 2nd agenda?
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Can you just read who was in attendance at that meeting? Because I can't remember whether I was even attending.
Hold on, Linda's pulling it out. So Linda's going to have to pull her microphone closer to her face.
Okay. Sorry, Mark.
So you want to know who was present?
Yeah, so I know if I should vote or not.
So absent was Al, Debbie Draw, Mike Guyon, and Tim Masterton, and Eric Tate. Present was Ed Freeman via Zoom, Tony LaFountain, Harold Mellors via Zoom, Bob Moore, Mike O'Connor, Mike Simon via Zoom, and Mark Valentine.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone have any comments, questions, issues?
No.
Okay, seeing none. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Those are passed. So jumping into our committee discussions, and this first one kind of falls in line with where we already were with our stream work we were doing leading up to this point, but we did get a request over the summer from 501 Thomas Cove Road with a request for stream cleaning. This was one of the ones that was on our list already with stream cleaning, and I do have an update about that. Let me just pull up Thomas Cove Road. We'll get down there, and then I can screen share so those online can see as well. So 501 Thomas Cove Road, those familiar, not familiar, Blossom Road here on the west. Thomas Cove Road is a private drive that goes back in. This is one of the locations that we had listed previously this year. You have Arundequoit Creek and then the lower end of Ross Brook that comes off of that, and it feeds all the way back to the waterfall at 525. Flows through here. We were down there a few years ago. They had a major washout behind 508. We were down there and noticed that there was sediment depositing within the stream. Not being able to get through the channel as well as it should. The size of the culverts appear to be sized appropriately, but had some deposit in the stream and actually starting to grow grass and the deposits there and everything else. So we've submitted for that. That being said, Mike and I were on a call earlier this week with the DEC. There's been some change of administration at the DEC. Some have retired, some new people coming on. And as part of that, it seems like DEC is taking a much more different tact than where and how we've been focused in the past. So we've been trying to do a more of a proactive approach. We've been working through our streams, looking at different areas and programming to clean a section of stream every year as we've been doing. The new administration of DEC appears to be taking much more of a reactive approach. Their response was show that it has flooded and flooded multiple times, and then maybe we'll consider issuing a permit for that. So this is new to us. They also have shared on there that we need to show that the flooding impacts structures, not just land or property. If it's flooding a farm field, so be it. If it's flooding someone's lawn, so be it. We need to show that it impacts actual houses, barns, infrastructure, culverts, and whatnot. So it was a little bit of it was quite a bit of a change, to sit into that discussion. Hopefully, we can continue to further conversation. We left the meeting that we were going out and walk some of the streams that we already have on this year's list, show what we've done there, as well as walk some of the ones that we've recently cleaned and show the approach that we've done. We're not trying to drain the wetlands. We're not trying to eliminate the wetlands, but they have come at it with the approaches. They need to show specifically where the blockage is, not just the stream corridor, and then also what, if any, impacts there are. So part of my concern I shared is that it typically takes us a year and a half to get a permit. So if we do show there's a blockage and do show that there is flooding, do we wait till it floods and then tell the people, okay, now we've got to go get a permit, and we'll get a permit a year and a half from now? They promised they would be much more reactive than that, but still the reactivity would be months, not, and that was in the best case scenario, not days, weeks. So a little bit, disappointed, and I don't know if Mike, if you've seen this, I don't know kind of where Brighton falls on this, but we've tried to be, at least I'd say more proactive of cleaning streams, removing a lot of the dead trees from, the emerald ash borer and stuff that's fallen down, sediment deposits, we've seen it. Some of we shared back was, with them is if we give people no out or farmers no out, the farmers will take it upon themselves just to kind of go ahead and clean their section, and then now you don't have consistency. One person will clean it 10 feet wide by 5 feet deep, and somebody else will do it, 2 feet wide, It doesn't lend a lot of consistency to it, and they didn't, unfortunately, good or bad, didn't seem to have much of a reaction to that. Go ahead,
Mark, we
Ed.
haven't seen, that's first I've heard about this too, so I have not had an experience like this with the DEC yet. I'm sure it's-
And I don't know if other communities are, let's say, proactive. I think we're unique in that, but they more wanted to show us the problem and then show us that the problem happens often, document it, have pictures of it, and then we'll come out and take a look at it, and then we'll assess whether a permit is warranted at that point. Ed, you
And
had a
this,
question?
is this just for numbered streams, or is this, I assume that's all they're talking about, right? Just stuff that's numbered streams?
Yeah, or anything with, wetland. So this was a call both with the Corps, so it was Tom Walker as the permit person, and then we had a few people from the Corps on it, as well as a few people from the DEC. So hopefully we can get out and walk the streams, and maybe it's just people getting familiar with. It just seems like they're brand new, and I'm sure that's what the book says, and I'm sure that's where it was, but I thought we had kind of come to a good understanding with DEC, and had worked well with them and the Army Corps in the past to do some of these stream cleanings. And, we had Martin's, our consultant, was on, and, he went through some of that stuff. I think we're going to have to target coming back through ag and markets to tell, or to work with DEC to tell a farmer that, sorry, you have impact to your field. I mean, that's crop loss, that's loss of land value. The one gentleman's comment was, well, they should have a 50-foot buffer anyway, so now the farmer's got to donate 50 feet of their property along 1,000 feet of stream or what their frontage is to create a buffer, as well as, any potential loss from flooding or whatnot on their property. So.
Hey, Mark, if a farmer goes out and does his own thing, are they subject to fines, or are they exempt, or what's the status if it's, their own private property and they do it themselves without any permits?
I don't know the official answer. I know in the past, some farmers have done their own, and it was just kind of understood, that was the other part we shared, is like Commission's ditch was built by the commissioners. So actually it was a private drainage channel that the commissioners of East Penfield had dug way in the past. The farmers installed it 100 years ago. And now the DEC is coming along saying, sorry, we're taking jurisdiction and regulation over this, and you guys can't, maintain the drainage in your own backyard. So I don't say the conversation's over, but, obviously this will be ongoing, but this was just as of Thursday, Friday, whatever. Mike sat in on that call with me, so.
Is this a cost saving for the DEC? Is that why it was pushing it? Or is it just
I think it's just
a regulation they just want? Because don't we pay for the ditch cleaning, the towns?
Yeah, they don't pay for any part of it. We make the application, we pay for the delineation. I think it's just new people reinterpreting the laws and the codes. Most recently, we had one of the streams, they asked us for a seeker determination on it, so we never have done that before. We can, so we did go through that process, and they wanted us, just to do seeker, for that. They wanted a additional wetland delineation, which we've done some in the past. I guess they wanted an additional level of wetland delineations. We did that part, and then which led up to the phone call, and they said, well, we just don't like that you guys are looking at wholesale streams for, stream cleaning, maintenance, whatever, and, at least my response was, we're not necessarily cleaning the entire stream. We don't dredge it if we don't have to, but we'd rather be on the right side of asking for the permits, obtaining the permits, and working from A to B than identifying one spot, and while we're in there, we find something else. They said, well, if there's one blockage, you can go in and, pull it out, but, unfortunately, most blockages aren't within 50 feet of the edge of the road. You've got to travel 500, 1,000 feet up or down the stream, so you've got to get access, in through there for it. So, quite a sidebar from 501 Thomas Cove Road, but we have put in the permit for that. I think we'll continue to work, to get the permits that we have in process now. But as this committee has done in the past, and we've kind of set aside with the town board as doing a more of a proactive approach, at least maybe in the short term, it may not be possible to do it that way. They may be very selective. They said, show us the spot where it's blocked, show us the location, and then also show us and document where it's flooded, what it's flooded, and if it's just someone's lawn and it floods twice a year, which we get, and we've had those conversations all the time. People are located in floodplains. You understand that that's what a floodplain does, or you're next to a stream, we understand that's what it does, but I think we've tried to be a little more proactive, so at least it keeps it generally within that area. And we've been lucky this year. We didn't get hit by Ida. We didn't get hit by, Henri before that, and other parts of the state have. And, if we'd gotten hit by those and hadn't kept up with stream maintenance, then, we'd have major issues. So, long narrative, long conversation, obviously more to follow, but that's kind of where we're at with the DEC and the Army Corps right now. I think we left it that within the next couple of weeks, they were busied up with stuff, but we would set aside time to walk some streams with them. So work with Bob and Eric, identifying some streams we've cleaned fairly recently, walk those, show them what we've done, what it looks like afterwards, and then, we may have to go out and walk some of these, stream locations that we've got in for this year and show the areas of where it's plugged and, what issues there are. And Thomas Cove, you can stand right at the edge of the road and look at the big lump of sediment in the middle. So I think hopefully it's apparent, and hopefully they can say, oh yeah, that makes sense just to dig it out. But back to your point, Ed, I think it's just the DEC, new people, new faces, either rereading the code or reading it more.
Interpreting it their way.
Interpreting it their way, I think, is some of the difference. And I think through the years, we'd worked with a lot of the DEC and Army Corps, and I think, we've done a good job. I think we've done, we haven't drained things, so I think they built up a comfort level with us and, what we had done, and maybe we just need to get back to that and walk some streams with them to set up a new generation and get them back into the fold. So more to follow on that. Anything else on Thomas Cove Road? So next one is Pond Valley Circle. Did get a request basically saying, I can pull up Pond Valley Circle. This has been an area for years that kind of gets overgrown. There's a stream pond in the back. Here, I'll get up there. This area, acts as both the pond and a wetland area. It does get overgrown. It's an area, we could look at, with ATIP to do some spot treatment. But knowing where they are now, I don't see a wholesale. one purple loosestrife is an invasive species that takes over, similar to Phragmites. Once Phragmites gets in there, it's a great filter. It does a good job of filtering out impurities. It just takes over and becomes a monoculture and chokes out every other type of vegetation that's in there. So we'll have to dig into this one a little bit further. Just taking purple loosestrife out is probably a fool's errand of trying to chase it. But if it's blocking a structure or blocking the functionality of the pond, obviously that's something we'll follow up on and, make sure that we make sure the pond is functional. It doesn't flood out to people in the area, but just to remove purple loosestrife or trying to move Phragmites, once it's in an area, it's pretty much done. And Al probably can speak more to that than I can, but once you get one of these invasive species in, it's pretty much, it's there for life, and you just try to kind of manage it the best you can and just make sure it doesn't block up the outfall structure or restrict the flow, cause ponding, flooding, anything else with that.
Yeah, I cut down a bunch of it in front of my place 2 weeks ago because he couldn't find the fire hydrant. So I cut down a whole big area. Drive by there now, it's already 2.5, 3 feet tall in 2 weeks.
And a lot of those, unless you move the roots and the suckers in there, we went through last summer, cleaning by the YMCA and the tubers and the runners, running with the Phragmites. You can chase it, but unless you get it all, it's coming back at some point. And some of those, when you mow it, it comes back twice as strong as it did, or twice as dense as it did before. So we'll take their comment under, I won't say advisement, but we'll take a look at it and make sure at least it's not impacting functionality of the pond or the drainage area. But eliminating it really isn't an option at this point if it's in there. Any other comments, thoughts on that one? So project update, just to give a little update of where we ended up. I think last year we were still working on the Pennicott piece. So that's the neighborhood just kind of across the street from where we are, south side of Atlantic. We worked with the Nature Conservancy and some of those homeowners to come in, and actually the school district come in off of Atlantic Avenue, work that stream through there. So we did cleaning of that. I'll get the map over there. Wait for it. It'll catch up in a moment. So Town Hall is here in the upper right corner. The streams will come in eventually, but we worked with the school district to come in on their property. They own this piece in here. They allowed us access to come in. We then went all the way from Hip Brook, just by, there it goes, Hip Brook, just off of Baird Road. The western portion of Hip Brook we cleaned a number of years ago, maybe it's 8 to 10, but fairly recently. And then we cleaned from the second leader of Hip Brook back through. This went in through the Nature Conservancy property. We worked with them, got the proper releases for that, and then cleaned on up through here. So I think we'd worked a section of it in the fall, and then we actually did some more of it in the wintertime when it froze and got back into there. So I think that's kind of an update, maybe where we were back into March, but that portion has been completed. From there, I believe we jumped over to Welch's property. So this is off of 250. Penfield Center. Staple Gate. Creek. Almost there. So then we started at the Welch's property on Route 250. So we had gotten a permit to clean down through there, so we cleaned this leg of it. We cleaned out to Jackson Road, and then there was actually a rear yard drainage channel that we got releases from the neighbors that's been causing some drainage issues and backing up their septic systems through there. So we were able to clean that out. We're in there. It wasn't a listed stream, so we just did that while we were there. And then I don't think we had too much cleaning, dredging for the rest of this. I think there was just a couple small little blockages from there on out, and then we had cleaned all the way out to 250. So this stretch all the way through here was cleaned out earlier this spring, and then I say we were able to do a finger on the backside to clean out through there. So you've got Jackson Road here, Plank Road here, 250 here. From there, we completed Welch's. We've since gone over and started working on Monroe-Wayne County Line Road. And let me get there. So starting, this is corner of the county property. So this goes into Webster. This is the county line here. We cleaned this portion back through here, and then there's a finger or a loop in through this end here. So those two pieces are now complete, to my understanding, Bob?
Yeah, well, we haven't done
The lower
the
piece?
lower section because he's got crops on it still.
Okay.
But we did walk it. It's not terrible. Just a little bit of cleaning in the woods we got to get to. But
Okay. But we did clean this piece. This is all done. So that's wrapped, and I think we even worked with Wayne County. They had done some portion. We cleaned a small piece there just to make sure that it was complete and kept them in the loop on that. We'll have to clean this lower section here. So that piece is complete. And then we also did a portion of Chippenham. So we did through, this is down off of 250. Get in the right spot. So there's here at 250, the YMCA, Southeast Bible Baptist Church. I believe we've completed this portion through the backyards of Chippenham, and we've come up to the southern property line in here. We've got another piece to go through here. We'll need some, this is a wetland piece, but we did get the permits for that, so we've got to complete that all the way out to Sweets Corners. So this piece is left to go. This portion through here has been completed to date. And then I believe then we're going to jump down to Wilbur Tract Road as next. We've been working with the residents down there. We've got the release from the Schneffs. That right by the road, we've got some culverts that cross under that are creating some blockages due to overgrowth, so we'll clean those out. And then there's some drainage that's coming down when we did, and Mike's going to remind me of the neighborhood up above because I always forget the name of the subdivision. What's that? No, it's the back end of Caroline Court. Thank you. So as part of one of the later developments, so here's Creek Street, Wilbur Tract Road is down below. Is all of the Creek Street developments, most of them were back from the 40s, 50s, 60s. Back then, stormwater was dump it over the side of the hill and just let it go.
I hope.
That was treatment, was just get it out of there as quick as possible. So we've had older developments. As soon as you go down to Maple Park Heights, you go down to some of the other ones, Harrogate. We've got pipes go down the hill. It goes to the stream, goes down below. Unfortunately, the people on Wilbur Tract Road have been the recipients of that. So when we put in the development for Caroline Court, they did install a pond, which is great. The pond discharges, but it doesn't have a clearly defined channel as it goes down through there, so it's kind of coming down the hill, which is fine. And then when it's getting into the Schneff property, it's kind of going into a delta and just kind of creating its own path, and each week it kind of takes a different angle, different path with that. So we're working with them to open up some, I think there's 2 spots on the culverts that are getting plugged by some growth, those, and then defining a channel back through here to let that development coming out of the Caroline Court development, just give it a defined path to get down to the creek from there. So
Are you going to have to get an easement for that, or?
we're getting a grading release for them for that, just to install it. They're obviously well in favor of it. It's just kind of creating different paths through their woods, and so they just said, we understand the water's coming that way. We just want to, here's where the ditch is, and just define a path for that. So that's next on our list to do that piece. And then the last one that I believe we may get into this year is with Black Forest, is what we're calling it. That's the private drive over by Hermance. And let me get into the right spot again. So the back side at the kind of starts behind Wilbert's tree farm, runs through the Black Forest neighborhood, and then through Passing Creek, and then over to Stablegate, and then it picks up and actually is supposed to flow north from Hermance into this neighborhood. We'd cleaned the piece on the south side a number of years ago, and kind of a portion of this main ditch, at least off the road. But we've gotten all the releases. I think we've got everybody's release for that. We've got the permits for that already. So that may be a late fall, winter project to get that one complete. So that should help. We've had some drainage concerns, issues with Hermance in the past, where I think this stream is backfeeding. It's clogged up here, so it's actually flowing south and then making its way over to the ditch over on Plank Road. So hopefully if we can clean that out, it'll flow north, and hopefully we resolve some of the drainage issues we've had in Hermance in the past. Any other updates, Bob, I missed on? I think that's been the...
I think you got them all.
Okay. I'd say we'd completed the YMCA one last year, so I think we'd highlighted that. I think that's all of them we had in for 2021. And then we talked earlier this year about the ones we've got in for 2022, and those are the ones that currently DEC's kind of holding right now, and we'll have to see where do we go with those and what we may get portions or pieces or parts of those. But it sounds like, as I shared earlier, it may be a little bit different of how we go forward and the way we approach it. So our approach may be different. We'll continue to pursue drainage. I think it's worked well. The town board's been supportive of it. I think we've had some sizable rainstorms, and it at least has contained it within the drainage areas. Floodplains are floodplains. Those flood drainage, the wetlands, we're not looking to, drain wetlands. We're respective of those and the floodplains, and people do call all the time and say, it rained on my property and I've got water. We often share, if the rain is gone within 48 hours, it's not, an issue, but, depending on the size of the rainstorm. So shared all those with DEC. It's not we expect as soon as the rain hits, it's gone. Obviously, we want recharge, and that's a lot where it's going now, is to have recharge and biofilters and other stuff. But I think when you have larger storm events, we at least want to make sure the mainline channels are open and can, handle the flow when the rains come. So we'll continue to have conversations with the DEC and Army Corps, but that's kind of where we stand right now. And this is the point, unless we have any more conversation about the stream cleaning, public participation. I don't see anybody else on Zoom. I don't see any other audience members. Brian, do we have any callers on the line waiting to call in?
No callers. I just want to take this opportunity to ask everybody to make sure to keep their mics pointed towards them. Thank you.
Yes, we'll remind Bob Moore to put his microphone on his face a little bit better.
Mark, I
Yes.
had a question for you, probably Bob, Eric. This is, in totality, a lot of cleaning was done in the last year. About how much footage would you say that you got to? Is that hard to?
7 months.
That's probably as good a guess as I
Is
can
that-
throw out there, but
Yeah, because the one on Welch's was 3,000 feet, 3,500 feet. County line was about the same. The one behind over here, that was what, 4,500?
yeah, if we did half this year, so we're probably close to 2
Right,
miles.
close to 2 miles.
2 miles
Wow,
of
That's
stream, and
your department, your staff did a wonderful. That's a lot of cleaning, I think.
It's primarily just 2 people doing that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
between
Good work. Thank you.
The engineering department kind of does the permitting piece, gets the releases, and then Tim Short, and then Jimmy, and I can't know Jimmy's last name,
Bingham.
Jimmy Bingham, are out there doing it, and they've, thanks to the DPW, they've allocated a dedicated crew to that, and those guys do a great job and call if they have questions and know what the regulations are and know what can be done, and it's worked to date. Hopefully we'll continue in one form or fashion or another. It may not be business as usual of how we've done it. I think we had gotten into a good rhythm and, gotten enough ahead and worked with the homeowners and worked with the farmers, gotten the releases, gotten the applications in, worked through the process, but we'll get there one way or the other, but we'll keep, making sure drainage flows and new way of doing business. So with no public participation, we'll move down into communications. Town of Penfield, I think I shared what we've got on our end. Monroe County Stormwater Coalition, I continue to sit on the executive committee for that, and the town continues to be actively involved with that. One thing to share, and I'm sure Mike Guyan is listening as well, is we've been informed through the DEC that they are doing 4 audits this year in Monroe County. To date, we know of 2. So far, they did the Village of Webster in July. They took August off, and just yesterday or the day before, heard that East Rochester is the next location to be audited coming up in September. So
I put a good word in for Penfield, Mark.
I appreciate that.
As we did for Brighton.
We, as I share my monthly report with the DEM board and with this group, we continue to try to keep up to date as we can. It's only a matter of time before we will be audited. The DEC comes out. It's basically a 3-day process. They come out day 1, want to see all your paperwork, go through what you do, what you look at. They want to see a written swamp plan. Stormwater management plan. So basically, if Mike and I drop dead tomorrow, who picks up the book and can read through how do I handle stormwater in the town of Penfield? So we've got that book completed, and then goes through, have we done our outfall inspections, our pond inspections? This committee here, weighs heavily into that we have a resident committee that weighs in on stormwater. We discuss it at this group. It talks about education. As soon as I see the H2O Hero stuff that's out there, that's part of what the Stormwater Coalition does. The town pays money into that every year. So it's part of being on the executive committee to see where the residents' money goes. But as you've seen the H2O Hero stuff that's out there, they've got videos, they've got Facebook stuff, we've got a website, we've got handouts and flyers and everything else. So a lot of that is education of the public that people think, and I just talked to somebody last week that thought it goes into a little catch basin-y thingy, and then it goes to a treatment plant somewhere, and it gets treated, and then it goes out to the stream, or it goes somewhere else where people don't realize it goes into the catch basin, it goes 50 feet behind their house, and whatever they're dumping in here, the oil, the soap, whatever is in the stream that their kid's playing in half an hour later. So that's a lot of what the coalition does, and what the DEC looks for is education to inform people where stormwater goes, what the impacts are, when you see beach closures, when you see, a lot of these other things, it's directly attributed to what goes on. So a lot of what we do is to try to, we do our weekly inspections of construction sites, make sure erosion's not going on there. We do outfall inspections, pond inspections, keep up with the stream cleaning. And then the biggest part is documenting all of that. So under DEC's regulation is if it's not written down, it didn't happen. So every time we go visit a site, we've got a little notebook and we document that we were on site, which day, what time, and then we do monthly inspections when we go out to construction sites to show that we do a full audit or a full inspection of the site. But so day 1 is they come look at all your paperwork. Day 2, we go out and visit some construction sites, which they pick at random through the town. We walk with them. Day 3, they go visit DPW and see what's going on over there. So that's why we do P2 is pollution prevention. We walk, with Eric and his team. I think it's every 5 years. I think we have to do it. 3 years. That's why Mike keeps me on track with that. Every 3 years we go walk and make sure we don't have barrels of fertilizer sitting outside. We keep our stuff under cover. The salt barn is protected. The floor drains don't go to the don't go to the storm sewer. Where do we store batteries? Where do we store? Who do we have that picks up our hydraulic fluids? What do we do if we have a spill at the gas pumps out there? Do we have a cleanup bag for that? What's the training for employees and everything else? So that'd be day 3 is walk the DPW facility because that's the biggest potential for polluters. But we have to look at all the facilities. So here at the town hall, make sure that the cleaning crew at night doesn't dump the floor chemicals out on the lawn after cleaning the floors or some other disposal. So
DEC did just stop by last week, I believe, and did an audit on our above ground and below ground bulk petroleum storage tanks.
how do we do?
No issues.
Perfect. So Obviously, when and if they call, I think we get 2 to 3 weeks time to prep and everything else for it. So we just try to keep everything up to date. But we'll let this group know. But the numbers are getting down there, and Penfield has a fair amount of construction activity going on. So I think between us, Parrington, and Henrietta, I think one of the three of us will be probably picked next. So I've been a little bit surprised by the Village of Webster. I think they had a lot of turnover, and the guy that was running it's no longer there. Not really sure about East Rochester, but I don't know what their program status was. So,
Hey, Mark, are they using, I know when there was an audit out in Wayne County, they hired a independent consulting firm, or is there actually DEC personnel that do it?
I believe, at least in Monroe County, what I've heard so far, I believe it's DEC personnel themselves. So, which I would dare to say this, I'd rather be audited by the DEC than the EPA. At least we've worked with Luke Scannell. I've tried to develop a relationship with him. He's at the local Avon office. He's kind of the main lead of that got some other people there with it. So I'd rather deal with them and the people that are local and know what we're doing and what we've got going on. I know way back when EPA came out, and I think they did the audit of Greece, and they were fresh out of school people that just read the book and said, here's the regulation, do you have this? And didn't have as much understanding about the implementation and how it well went. So, but
And Mark, I anticipate Brighton will get on that list too here this year. I suspect we'll be audited too.
so we got 2 left for this year.
Yeah.
Could be both of us. We'll see how that goes. But as I'm sure you are, we're preparing and trying to keep our stuff up to date and document the best we can, and take it as it comes. Anybody have anything else? That's all I had on that kind of combined the Monroe County Stormwater Coalition, the state EPA end of it. I've not heard any more. Once upon a time, they kept talking about an updated MS4 permit. That's kind of dropped off as of recently. I know it's still out there somewhere. We talked in this group years and years ago that they were requiring us to factor every catch basin twice a year. They had a whole bunch of other stuff that they had put out there in the draft permit. I think we'd sent back 1,200 comments between the coalition and other stuff on, what the impact would be. We'd have to dedicate 2 people to cleaning out catch basins full-time every day, for the entire year to meet that requirement. So hopefully they've backed off some of those, but I have not heard or seen anything more come forward, which is fine. Keeping up with the current regulations is almost a full-time basis for us anyway, so that's enough. Anybody else have any other business items to talk about today? The only other business we've got on the agenda is looking ahead. I think Linda had sent out our potential 2022 meeting date agenda. So that would scheduled a February 1st, March 1st, April 5th, June 11th. Will be a Saturday, would be our normal field trip. We drive around, look at some construction sites with the group. And then we're off July and August, and then resuming September 6th, October 4th, and November 1st. So that would be sticking with our Tuesday dates. We used to be Mondays, but now with, for the foreseeable future, I think we'll be in here, and then especially now with all the technology that's set up, we used to either be in the back or we'd be, Watershed was always in the back, transportation was in the supervisor's conference room, but now that we were doing things through Zoom, recorded, televised, this is our new home. We've got the TV screens, we've got the technology and everything else, and PCTV can record us. So I think we'll be on with Tuesdays if that works for everybody. Is here with us. So with that, if the group wants to vote on the calendar agenda for next year.
I make a
Everybody in
motion to
favor?
accept the agenda.
That's good.
Second.
Second from Al. Anybody all in favor? Hands up.
Aye.
We're good. Anybody opposed? Okay, so we'll adopt that. We'll obviously share with website and then get that on the calendar going into next year. And then as we get closer to the end of the year, We'll check with the group and see who wants to serve and continue on with the committee. Unfortunately, our supervisor will be leaving us at the end of this year, so we'll have a new supervisor, and we'll take direction from her as she comes on board. But typically, we ask the group and see who wants to continue to serve, but we'll get into that as we get in later in the year. Nobody has anything else?
Thanks, Mark.
Did a lot of me talking today, but did want to share the information about the DEC, and I say that's kind of late breaking news with them and going through what we've got on their end, but we'll work through it and we'll update this group. But thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
So
All right.
with that, we will close the meeting at 4:50 p.m.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thank